Today we're going to be escaping a giant diamond prison, which actually starts with a tiny diamond room. Now the trick is that we are not allowed to break any of the diamond. So it essentially is a bedrock escape, and oh my goodness, are there some crazy rooms inside of this one. Now I will also say there's a few other rules as well. 1, we cannot break the colorful blocks in the starting room. 2, we cannot break dispensers, and 3, we cannot break honey. Some pretty interesting rules, but you'll see why. Now while you're at it, guys, be sure to leave a like on the video if you are hoping for like a 3-day weekend. Wouldn't that be amazing? Also, let's play a fun little game. Comment down below the name of this egg, and let's see how many of you get it right. So once I got into the map, guys, I obviously was placed inside of this diamond block area. I saw that there was an arrow pointing downwards and what looked like a button over in that area. There was also a torch, which I could obviously break, but torches aren't really used for very much. So I figured that obviously I had to reach that button with the big arrow pointing towards it, and I looked around the diamond prison. I didn't see too much. I even tried jumping to see if anything was out there. I wasn't sure what to do, and then I remembered that obviously we gotta use the third-person camera to see if we can spot anything. And as you can see, I was able to find a chest in the bottom right-hand corner here. So obviously that is what I needed to open. So with that being said, I jumped and clicked to open it, and I was able to find a bow and an arrow, which was perfect for reaching that button on the other side. Now I had to be a little bit careful to line it up perfectly to get it over the block, and it opened up, so I escaped the first mini room of the diamond prison. There was also this chest that I decided to break in case I needed it later. Always a good idea to grab those chests, and I also grabbed the torch just in case I needed an extra item. Now I walked out into what appeared to be a maze. There was also a ladder in the ceiling, seemingly that I would need to go there later. But yeah, I was in this diamond maze that I just kept, having to walk around, and then I found a trident. That was a pretty interesting item. Decided to grab the picture frame as well. Usually in these picture frames aren't useful whatsoever, but might as well pick it up. You never know. I decided to go over to where the arrow was to see if I could get it, and I found a ladder. That is super useful. Picked up my arrow, and then there was a second button over here, which was really interesting. Again, I wasn't allowed to break these colorful blocks at the beginning. That was one of the rules. But yeah, this button right here, I just decided to press it and see what happened. And I accidentally placed a chest. Yeah, I forgot I was crouched, but I pressed the button. I couldn't quite tell what happened at first, but something did in fact happen. So I picked up my chest again and continued to look around this maze for more items. So yeah, just kept making my way around, kind of making sure to check every opening just in case there was an item. I found this weird tunnel that apparently had some water in it. So that was obviously leading to something. Decided to go up it, and then it gave me an overview of the diamond area. I saw that the block in the center actually moved up, and there was also a chest across where I started. I should have turned around and checked, but there was also then a second ladder. So now we have 2 ladders and a chest, which are great for building upwards. Definitely going to be useful, but I also want to grab that chest towards the beginning. Nice. And then I walked over here, happened to turn around in this opening and see a 3rd ladder. So we were getting some really good items here. And also there was this door right here, which was an iron door. Not allowed to break those. But how was I going to open it? Obviously, I had to go back and grab those buttons. I should have grabbed them at the start, but either way, we got them now. Then went back and grabbed the chest, or opened it, and was able to find a ladder inside of there. And then I made sure to also build up and grab the rest of it as well. Just like that, it's always useful to have a chest to jump on top of. So at this point, I had explored the entirety of the maze, so I knew it was time to go inside of the center room. And then I looked up, and there was obviously that ladder we spotted earlier. So I placed 1 chest down, or actually I think I placed 2. Yeah, 2 chests, and then 3 ladders in order to reach that. After we got to the top, we were inside of this giant water room with some dispensers above me. Now again, dispensers are ones that we can't break since they're technically redstone and they're a part of the map, but I decided to swim up, and I spotted this button right here, which activated the dispensers and dispensed a bunch of items, as they're supposed to. Now the items that I was given were some drowned spawn eggs, which I think were actually supposed to spawn drowned, but they didn't for whatever reason. I also was able to find 2 pieces of wool. Those were going to be useful later for sure. And then there was just like some rotten flesh. So overall, not too many interesting items. Also, there's no point in breaking the block in the center. Well, I wouldn't drop an item. I did make sure to grab the signs though, in case I needed them. After that, I swam up to this door right here and placed the extra button I had. I also realized that I could break this one again, so made sure to pick that up, and that allowed me to get into the next room, which as you can see was a super long corridor. I looked around in case there were any items hidden. I could have maybe broken this glass, but I realized that there was no point, and that could have possibly been used for something later. So yeah, I looked down and I realized that there was some block down there, which I actually realized was honey. Now, if you guys didn't know, honey isn't actually like a full block, so to say, or like you can sort of stand on it or stand on blocks around it, which is a little tough to explain, I realize. But like right here, I just decided to jump down, and you know, since the block isn't a full block, I was able to land on the side of it and also stand on the diamond blocks below. After that, I looked up and there was an elytra. That is an amazing item to have, but at this point, how was I going to get back up? Again, I wasn't allowed to break the honey. I thought about using my ladder or the 2 wool blocks that I got, but then I found this button over here. Now, I couldn't reach it just by jumping. I did try pressing it, but I couldn't quite get enough height. However, I figured I could probably use this wool block if I placed it right in that spot. I was nervous I wouldn't be able to get it back, but if it's right in that location, I should be able to get it. But yeah, I pressed the button and it spawned, or didn't spawn, it pushed out a diamond block that I could jump back on top of. So I broke the wool block and was able to get it back. That was definitely helpful, but somehow I had to get to the other side here. I didn't want to use wool again in case I had to break it. I didn't want it to fall into the lava. So with that being said, I just decided to go for the jump. And I was able to make it. That was a really nerve-wracking one. Then I had to do a kind of tricky jump to get back onto this diamond block, but it wasn't too difficult. Now I had to figure out how to get to the other side. I thought about maybe using the elytra, but it was too far and too high up for me to actually make any progress. So I instead decided to put the wool blocks about 3 or 4 blocks away so that I could run and jump up there. I figured this should give me about the right distance, and then I could elytra if I needed to. So I made the second jump. Those are definitely risky, but luckily I made it. I was also able to use the ladder to make the last jump even easier, and that got me out of, what was that, the 4th room. Now at this point, I was in another lava room, which I looked around to see if there were any items. There was absolutely nothing, but there was an opening on the left side, so I figured that I was probably gonna have to use my elytra and hope something is on that other side. So yeah, I ran and jumped and quickly turned around, and thank goodness there was in fact a diamond platform. I love how it was hidden right behind the corner, so I couldn't see it, but I had to just trust that something was there. So now that I was in this weird staircase room, I checked around every corner just to make sure there was no extra items for me to grab. There was a little bit of parkour, but I'm the best, so you know I made it across. And then we went into this next room. Now, oddly enough, there were some pistons and like a ton of sand. I wasn't quite sure how to reach that at first. I tried crouching to the very edge of the platform, and it was just out of my reach to press the button, but then I remembered I had picked up my arrow and I still had the bow. So with that, I was able to shoot the button. It dropped down the sand, which I then could run and jump to. I then could fairly easily jump to the next diamond blocks across. Also, I made sure to not grab the arrow because if I did, it would push me off the piston. But anyways, there was this next section here, which was easy enough to reach. I just pressed the button and the sand dropped on down. And as you can see, the piston does push back out, but clearly I had to make it across to the other area. However, once I was about to jump, I realized this sneaky little wool block hidden on the side. So I carefully made sure to grab that, and it popped right up for me to put in my inventory. After that easy jump across, and now I had to figure out what exactly to do in order to get across this piston. I figured the best method was to just put the wool block right here and then jump onto that and then jump on top of the piston, which should give me enough of an angle to get across to the next area. I did try to grab the wool block, but that did not work out. But yeah, I went for the jump and I'm just barely made it across. Now, as for this section, there was obviously the chest in the middle. There's also this sign that says to subscribe. Hey, I don't make the rules. Mr. Sign said to subscribe, so you better do so. But inside of the chest, I found an ender pearl, which obviously would be super useful. There was an opening on the other side of the room, as you can see right over here, but I wanted to double check. Before I made sure to throw the ender pearl over there, there were these ladders that I wanted to climb up and see what was at the top. I broke one of the ladders and moved it over just to make the next jump a bit easier, and then I climbed on up. The jumps were fairly easy, as you can see. Just jump from one to the next, and after the final jump, I was on top of this ledge. And I did try to grab the ladder, but that did not work. So now that I was a lot closer to this area, I figured that I would need to likely throw the ender pearl on the edge instead of just chucking it on through in case there was, as you would believe it, lava on the other other side. So yeah, that was a good choice. It's always better to be safer and just throw it on the edge, because I could have just used my Elytra to glide on if I needed to. But yeah, there was this big opening on the side that I could use my Elytra to get to, but there was also this chest right here, which I figured I would probably need to grab. So with that being said, I flew on down there and just barely made it. I probably should have been a little more careful, but yeah, the chest saves me, and inside of it were some glass pieces and a minecart. And of course, got to break the chest just in case we can use it later. Now with these pieces, I could use them to bridge across. You guys know the drill, 4 blocks out, and then we can run and jump onto the next one. Same thing, placed another block at that same distance and made the jump easy enough to the next area. And then simple enough, I ran and jumped to the next area, which luckily there was an edge because I didn't quite make it on the first ledge. But yeah, that saved me, so I was able to jump down into this next area, and I spotted a slime block right when I jumped down. Now, as you can see, this room is pretty interesting. There's a sticky piston in the center with a gold pressure plate. Also, these ladders, which I could easily jump across to. And then to get to the next area, I figured I could just place the chest right there. I also grabbed the ladder in case I needed it. Now, as for the next part right here, obviously the slime block would have to go there, and then the pressure plate would launch me into the air. That was easy enough to figure out. The scary part was actually having to make the jump. So I pulled out some signs and then dropped one of them on the pressure plate, which launched me up, which I could then use my Elytra to get across. I slid off the side, and again, there was a very nice ledge that saved me. Now, inside of this room, which would actually turn out to be the final room, were some rails, which I would assume my minecart would be used for, right? However, where exactly should I be using them? I went up these blocks right here, which were oddly placed. Usually that means that I've got to do something, and I noticed that there was this rail up above. So I decided to place my minecart on that rail, and it went downwards, and as I jumped on back, I was able to see it actually fly on by. Now, I waited for the minecart to hopefully come across, and it did, clearly meaning that I would have to jump into it. So once it wrapped around another time, I jumped into it and got it. However, as I went around, I noticed that there was an oddly placed button that I would likely have to press. But once the minecart went around again, I quickly pressed the button, and that changed the minecart's path and brought me into what was actually the room that we could escape from. And also there was a sign that said Doug. Doug, I don't know who Doug is, but inside of the chest was a lever that I didn't actually need. I still had a button, and I escaped into the winter wonderland outside of the diamond block prison. So yes, guys, it took a lot of work, but we were able to make it out, and that was honestly a ton of fun. Now, if you guys are new to the channel, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications for more escape videos like this. Comment down below what you want to see me escape out of next, and it may be featured in a new video. But again, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you in the next one.